Many years ago, I used to believe that my creative superpowers, the thing that gave me the edge, consisted of three S's: stress, stellar artois, and Fender Stratocasters. Now the first two S's, the first two superpowers, are what I call toxic superpowers. And the third superpower, the Fender Stratocaster, are what I call a true superpower. And I still have that true superpower today. But I fucked off the other two. And let me explain why. You may be suffering from the same kind of thing that I was suffering from, believing that things like stress and things like alcohol and drugs, etc., escapist behaviors, avoidance behaviors, are the things that give you the edge. They are your superpower, but they're not. You see, as human beings, we are motivated by one of two motivators: either away from the thing that we fear, or the things that we fear, or towards the things that can give us our freedom: mental freedom, emotional freedom, spiritual freedom, financial freedom, sexual freedom, all of that kind of stuff, yeah? So we're motivated away from the things that we fear or towards the things that can give us our freedom. Oftentimes, and more often than not though, we're motivated by the former, by the toxic superpowers. We're motivated away from the things that we wish to avoid, and that's what things like alcohol are as well, obviously. They're an avoidance tactic at a certain level, obviously. Now, you don't want to be motivated by toxic superpowers, because a toxic superpower is very short-lived. You see, if I want to motivate you to get out of your chair, a short-term way of doing that, a really quick fix way of doing that, is to set fire to your chair, and you'll jump out of the chair, run out of the building until you're away from the danger. But then your motivation will immediately drop off. But if I motivated you somehow, some which way, through freedom, that motivation would keep going, because you keep wanting to chase your freedom. Now, when you're running away from the things that you're fearing, you're triggering fight, flight, freeze and fawn responses in the nervous system. And this releases stress hormones, most notably, obviously, adrenaline and cortisol. Now, adrenaline and cortisol are good short-term fixes to giving you motivation until they fuck you up, until they burn you out. And they will burn you out, because something like cortisol, for example, attaches to every single nerve, cell, muscle and neuron in your brain and body, and actually stimulates brain cells to death, so that you actually become less smart and less creative the more you push that stress hormone through the nervous system. But if you're chasing your freedom, if you're motivated by your freedom, if you have true superpowers like the Fender Stratocaster, your body is not going to release adrenaline and cortisol. It's going to release the flow state chemicals. And the flow state chemicals are the most potent neurochemicals that your brain can release. And when you're in a flow state, because you are pushing into a true superpower, your brain is releasing serotonin, endorphin, dopamine, anandamide, norepinephrine, oxytocin. These are the most potent feel-good chemicals that are in existence. Serotonin is what we have when we have depression. Yeah, we want to have serotonin tablets to boost our serotonin levels. We can get that naturally by being in a flow state. When we want to pursue something, we want to have dopamine. We can get that naturally by being in a flow state. When we want to get an equivalent of a runner's high, we go and do something that gives us a runner's high, something like an escapist behavior, or we can do a freedom-based behavior, and that is what comes from a flow state. Oxytocin, that's the love hormone. We feel like we are comfortable around the people who are around us. We're comfortable within ourselves. It's like taking an E. And that's what's beautiful about chasing your freedom, is when you chase your freedom, you unleash your flow. When you unleash your flow, you get more freedom, you get more emotional freedom. The Fender Stratocaster and Gibson Les Pauls, they give me a massive sense of emotional freedom, of mental freedom, of physical freedom. So look at your life, look at the things that are motivating and driving you. Are you motivated by toxic superpowers? Or are you motivated by true superpowers? If you're motivated by toxic superpowers, I highly recommend you to switch that. Do not run away from the things that you fear for too long, because if you do, that fear will eventually catch up with you, bite you on the arse, and if you're unlucky like I was, put you in the hospital. But your guitar, your Stratocasters, your equivalent of the Stratocaster, will not put you in the hospital because it releases the good hormones, the good chemicals that your brain and body thrives on. I hope that makes sense. Give it a try.